and welcome to another of the Ley Love Down, the knowledge transfer series. And this is number three, isn't it? Yeah.
It is.
So yeah, it's really exciting. We've got a lot of people coming up, but today we got Giles. So yeah, we're really excited to have you on board. And I watched the interview with you and Rachel, and that was really cool. Just to hear what you guys were talking about. And I've heard a lot of about Rachel, but to hear about what you do and all the love and singing and everything that you share with the world, it's really great. So yeah. So hopefully everyone will enjoy this. And at the end, if anyone has any questions, please, ask away. So Giles, do you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm Giles Bryant. I run the World Healing Project, which this September will be 20 years promoting well-being initiatives all around the world. And that might be encouraging people to do exercise and yoga. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Boom. There's the website. Uh, Meditations, like Ley Love Down do. You know, these meditations for our own benefit, but meditations to send it out around the world. The love and healing to the world. We build peace circles. We visit sacred sites. We're really into healing music. I've made about 15 albums, I think, and toured the world, sung lots of songs. We do perpetual choirs events where we'll just keep singing and we take it in turns. We just keep singing. And if there's no one to take it in turns with me, I just keep singing myself. Sing for Peace. We've started this thing called Sing for Peace. So the resonance with the Ley Love Down, my friend Cheryl, she said, "Oh, you've got to hook up with these guys." They're like, so that's kind of what's been happening. Yeah, really into health and well-being. I was training to be a barrister. That was my career path. And then once I discovered what the legal profession was about, I thought, yeah, not really feeling that. So I instead started to study yoga and consciousness, healing and well-being. And here we are. Look at that. Equinox sing for peace and healing. Yes, yes. So that's a bit of a nutshell of what I do. I love nature. I love the earth. I love singing. I can see there, Rebecca, you got a harp in the background. Oh, the harp, eh? Oh, I love music. I love my family. I love you all. I love everyone out there. So that's a little brief intro from me.
I'm impressed, Giles. One of the main questions I want to ask you is how do you go from learning to be a lawyer to doing this sort of work? And you've just answered it. Very intuitive.
Well, the thing is, where I was studying, I went upstairs and there was the great amount of books there. And I turned, the law library was to the right and I'd just head a left and it was psychology, philosophy, yoga. They had some fantastic books. And just through my own practice, I started to feel really relaxed. I had developed the ability and, relaxation. I feel really relaxed and really calm. And then when I calm my body and I calm my mind, I started to feel this light and peace and joy and love. And I thought, I want a bit more of that. Whereas I was born in 1975, so I'm 50 this year, 50 years young coming up. So I grew up as a child of Thatcher's Britain, really. And it was very materialistic, it was about money. And so I didn't know any different. I just grew up in my environment. But I had this song in my head. I don't know if we talked about this before, Rachel, but Money Can't Buy You Love by the Beatles.
Mm.
For money can't buy you love. And I just thought, hold on a minute. I've got society telling me, this is the path. This is what success is. But it just didn't really seem to fit. So I went within instead. And when I graduated from law, I went to live in a woodland. I went to live in a forest. And I learnt from the trees. And I learnt from the plants and the animals. It's like the Buddha. The Buddha received enlightenment by sitting under a tree. So there's a little key there, everyone. Okay, that's a bit of what's it called? The wisdom transfer, right? Knowledge transfer. That's something for you. If you want to develop your consciousness, I would recommend sit under a tree. Find a nice tree.
Absolutely. And a lot of people know now that the mycelium that grows underground actually connects all the roots of all the trees. It's like the telecommunications center or conduit. It's quite amazing. I didn't know that until just recently, last couple of years, and it just blew my mind. They've actually done studies where they've taken like trees that are from not necessarily from the same mother tree, but that are of the same species. And they've actually covered up a couple of them so that they couldn't get any sunlight. And the other trees would feed them through the root
Yeah.
system of the mycelium. And it's just absolutely beautiful. So there's a camaraderie and there's a protection of one another. And people say, oh, well, because the materialistic view is, oh, well, of course, because, if they're all standing together, that they can be protected from the wind. But I don't think that's all that it's about. I think they won't necessarily feed trees of other species. So it's about propagation of the species, but it's also, I think it's, these are sentient beings, plants and trees that are alive. It's just a beautiful thing to recognize. And so many people now call themselves tree huggers quite proudly, which is gorgeous. Are you a tree hugger?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I'm just looking outside into my garden now, and oh, it's just beautiful. I got my feet barefoot on the earth. That's another little tip. I tell you what I'd love to do. I just lit a bit of incense, and I love at the start of something, just to do a little bit of smudging, just to do a little bit of a blessing, if that's all right with everyone.
Beautiful.
Because this is how I'd start how I'd start a workshop, or if I was doing some singing or something. So I've just lit a bit of charcoal, and I've got some frankincense here. One of the things that I do, you might see the t-shirt up there, and Rachel was a wonderful guest, is Kind of Sound, which is global community radio. So if anyone's listening to this and you've got a message and you'd like to share it out to the world, then you can do so on Kind of Sound. Just send us an email, and we can do it. One of the guys that I do a regular show with, his name is Stephen Ash, Medicine Man Stephen Ash. He's walked the ley lines. He's a character. And he always starts, and he calls it honoring. He
No.
calls it honoring, right? It's a beautiful thing. And he has a little song, and it goes, I honor you, just the way you are. I honor me, I honor me, just the way I am. And it's just about honoring who we truly are. So I'd just like to call, for me, the North is here. I'd just like to call to the North and the earth and the strength and stability to the animals and the rocks and the trees. I'd like to call to the east and the air, the pranic energy, may it bring relief. I'd like to call to the south and the fire and the sun and that light. May we bring in that light. May that pranic energy bring strength and healing and awakening. I'd like to call to the west and the water. I'd like to honor all of the waters of the earth, the sacred springs and rivers and oceans. I'd like to honor the mother, sacred mother, earth mother, divine mother. I'd like to honor the ley lines, the energy lines, the dragon lines, the mycelium, the soil. I'd like to honor the Great Spirit, oh, Great Spirit. Heavenly Father, guide us with your wisdom and light. And I'd like to honor the love that is within us always, the infinite love that is within us. Oh, little bit of honoring for us on a
Love
morning
that.
for me, might be evening or lunchtime, wherever you are. But yeah, let's just honor ourselves, let's remember who we are. Let's honor us just the way we are. Just the way we don't have to change anything. We are it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Love that. Thank you. I often do this. I teach a psychic development course, and I always do some sort of invocational prayer at the beginning just to keep people safe. Because whenever you're opening up in that way, it doesn't mean that you have to be terrified, but it's a very smart thing to do to be protected. And it's really all about
yeah.
your intent, isn't it? You put the intent out there that you're going to be protected. You're asking for, as you said, all of those elements to come in and provide the protection. It's a smart thing to do.
Well, in my travels around the world, and I've been to lots of different countries. I had a great time in Australia. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Hanging out with the old folk, singing with the old folk. Ooh, that was quite something. Ceremony with the old folk and the old land there. But I've been all around the world, and I've found honoring the sacred directions is a universal practice
Yeah.
because it centers where you are. I did a concert recently in London, and a friend had asked me to go along, and we're in London. We're in this really cool, like vegan venue, right? And you had to go to the music part of it through this. It was a bookcase. I said to the guy, "Where's the music?" He said, "Ah," I said, and it was like a false bookcase. Woo! And you went in, right? There's all these cool vegans, and I said, "We're in the middle of London, right?" And I said, "We've got to know where we are." And they looked at me like, they were, what are you talking about? We've got to know where we are because well, where do we want to go? We've got to know where we are. I said, well, where will the sun rise in the morning? And it was quite something for these people in a very urbanized environment. And then someone said, it's here. I said, yeah, I thought it was. I could kind of feel it, right? So we honor the east and the rising sun. And we did a little prayer for sacred directions. They may have been a bit more confused by it than some of you guys, but I think it's important. Ground ourselves. We need to ground ourselves. Take those shoes off. Get on the earth. Connect to the Mother Earth again. Oh, what a gift that is. What
Oh, yeah.
healing we can get from the earth.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's
Ooh.
amazing, isn't it? People talk about grounding sheets and that sort of thing now. Apparently, sleeping above on a second floor or first floor, wherever it is, not sleeping on the ground floor can actually have deleterious effects on one's health because you're so far above the ground, you're not getting any of that grounding effect during the sleeping time. Yeah, pretty amazing.
I'm
So many
touching a
things to think
grounding mat
about.
now. I just where my computer is. I've got, my computer sits on a grounding mat, and my office here is surrounded by holy water and sacred plants and organite and tensile rings and crystals, because we've got electromagnetic fields that are artificial. And what can we do to help keep ourselves strong? Grounding is important. I'd say clean water.
Mm.
Those of you out there, all right, get that clean water in. And I've got this. This is a new one for you, right? My old friend John Bradley, he says strength. He's a Yorkshireman. Strength comes in through mouth. Strength comes in through the mouth, right? So this is a new one for you. You want to try this, right? Mint, mango,
Oh,
mangosteen, and maca. Oh, with the all you need superfoods. This is I've got found my new home with some fresh nettles as well. This is my new
Um,
super juice. Cheers, everyone. Good health.
mangosteen. I don't think I've heard of that before.
Use the rind of this fruit, mangosteen
Oh,
powder. It's superfood, amazing.
wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
my wife's out. I just before we went on, my wife's out in Machu Picchu at the moment with David Avocado Wolf, who
Oh,
is the world's leading expert on superfoods. And my wife might be the second expert, second top expert in the world, quite frankly. So yeah, she creates lots of superfood blends, and she did this thing called All You Need Superfoods, which I've just got here, a little plug. All you need superfoods, right? Vitamin D, vitamin C, magnesium, digestive enzymes, plant protein, super greens, medicinal mushrooms. We've got such a need for nutrients,
yeah.
and it's probably the same the world over. But the soils have been so I don't know what to say, like shagged. I'm going to say shagged. I don't know if you understand what that word means,
Oh, we use
English
that a
word.
lot here.
You use shagged a lot. Okay. Just might, just they've just taken so much from the soils in industrial farming, which strips the nutrients out of the soil. And people say to me, "Oh, well, my great grandmother, she didn't need any supplements." No, she didn't. She was eating organic food
Yeah.
and she was outside a lot.
Mm.
She's touching the earth, connecting to the earth, getting that vitamin D in. But nowadays, so that's a really big thing for me. It's like I want to nurture all aspects of my health, and through World Healing Project. We want to help everyone be healthy, like everyone. So we got to look at some fundamentals. We need good hydration. We need some good food, and if you can get some foraged greens, like right now where we are in England, we've got nettles. Maybe think about a nettle. What does a nettle is a colonizing plant. It'll just where there's poor soil or something, it will just grow up and be vibrant and strong. If you want to be vibrant and strong, maybe eat some fresh nettle leaves. And
Mhm.
then I was in the garden and the mint starting to come up, right? I'm outside. I was working. I just had my eye on this mint, and it was almost talking to me, like the doctrine of signatures. So a walnut looks like a brain. I wonder what a walnut's good for. Yeah, that omega-3 fat for your brain. So I was seeing this mint, right? This mint was popping up. I was like, I wonder if I eat that, what that'll do. It's going to make me strong, right? Because it's vibrant. So
Yeah.
if we eat living foods, it helps us be vibrant and alive. If we eat dead foods, then what's it going to do to us? So that's where I'm going with this superfood smoothie, guys. We want to send that love to the ley line when we're pumped on the superfoods.
Billy, I'm going to steal your question.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Perpetual choirs, what are they and how do they work? Because you were saying before you're just going to keep singing, but Billy and I had never actually heard of them before we came in contact with you.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you so much for asking about that. So have we got another day? I can keep talking on this. Right. The perpetual choir. So I'm going to hold up this book. You see this here?
Yeah.
This is John Michel's book, The City of Revelation. It was the first time in print that the perpetual choirs were mentioned. Probably for, I don't know, might have been the first time actually that it had been written down. Apart from I think it was the 7th century in the Welsh triads, the oldest writings that we have in Great Britain are the triads, and they mention 3 perpetual choir sites. Llandwit Major, which is in South Wales. It was a Druidic university in pre-Christian times, and it went on to become one of the main centres of learning in the early part of the Celtic Christian church. The aristocracy of Europe would send their children to be educated at Llandwit Major. This was one of the perpetual choir sites. Glastonbury, the famous Isle of Avalon, the burial place of King Arthur, where St. Joseph of Arimathea is said to have taken the chalice of the Last Supper. That was one of the perpetual choir sites. The greatest abbey of medieval times in the whole of Britain was at Glastonbury. And at Stonehenge, which is considered to be the national temple of England, the most famous stone circle in the world. So John Michel found evidence in the triads of these perpetual choir sites, and then in his book City of Revelation he writes about them. So I just, in preparation for this morning, I just kind of picked this up and I was like, here we go. The song that the elders sang at the perpetual choir was an astrological chant pitched to the music of the spheres, celebrating the order of the heavens and guiding the ritual order of life on earth. The temple, which was where they were singing, was the central power station of the whole country, transmitting throughout the nation the current of the divine word. Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
right. So let's do an experiment. If I kind of, I know sometimes Zoom doesn't work so well if we're all, and some of you have unmuted, so it doesn't, the technology doesn't work with us. But let's just try this, okay? So we're going to have an intention, and then we're going to make a sound, and then we're going to see what happens. And our intention is love for ourselves, love for all the beings, and love for the earth, love for the ley lines, love for the energy lines. We're going to do the sound ah, so deep breath in, ah. Now, when one person does it, it's good. But where several gather in my name, as Jesus said, where several gather in my name, there am I. Where several people gather in that consciousness of love, then the divine consciousness comes through and the energy is amplified. The perpetual choirs had 100 people at a time. This is what was recorded in the triads. 100 people who were specially trained. They weren't a load of whacked out hippies. They were specially trained. This is a pre-Christian practice that was continued into the Christian age and is indeed a worldwide practice. I traveled the world. Let's just hold this up for you. And I made this album called One World. I spent 8 years making it. I did 6 years in the field, and then with the COVID, they stopped me traveling, so I worked with people remotely. I traveled the world to look for evidence of these perpetual choirs. We went to Egypt, and we were in Luxor, which has some phenomenal sites. And one of the guides said this was the temple of the perpetual choirs. I thought, right, it wasn't just in Britain then. And we traveled to India, and in 1936 they returned the perpetual choirs in Rishikesh. So right now they're singing. They're singing for world peace. I went to Hampi, which was the ancient Vijayanagar, the place of Rama and Hanuman, which Craig Press told me is a site which is 80,000 years old. And there they have returned the perpetual choir. And in my travels to Australia, I was told that the didgeridoo is a perpetual Om machine. It is a way to generate this healing vibration perpetually. So there are perpetual choirs. It's a historic thing, but it's happening now. And this is the thing with it. It's such an amazing thing. We can kind of connect it into the ley lines, right? So I've had an understanding of the interaction of human consciousness and the ley lines, the dragon lines, the song lines, whatever you want to call them, for over 25 years. And my understanding of this came principally through the work of Fountain International. And Fountain International was founded in 1981 by a healer and dowser called Colin Bloy. And he'd done experiments dowsing ley lines. He was the first person in known history to dowse a ley line. He was the teacher of the great Hamish Miller and thousands of other people about earth energy dowsing, like myself. So Colin had done some experiments because he'd realized that human consciousness was affecting the size and power and intensity of these energy lines. And so he'd found this lost church in Andorra, and they had people, expert dowsers, a mile away, and they said, right, this is a ley line here going through it. So he'd been at his son's school, and they did the Gregorian chant, and he dowsed this ancient chapel. Some of the schools in England, you know, very ancient foundations, and he doused the energy. And then on a Sunday morning, they would sing the Gregorian chants, and it massively expanded the energy, like incredibly. And he thought, wow, it's the sound, it's singing that's doing it. So he was at this church in Andorra, and he had an old record player, and he played the Gregorian chants, and they got the people to douse, and it would really expanded it. Yeah. And then he thought, I'm going to try something else. And he played a record of Jesus Christ Superstar, the rock opera by Andrew Lloyd Webber. And it was the bit where Jesus is coming into Jerusalem, Hosanna, Hosanna. And the line expanded even more. And he was like, hold on. How can a rock opera expand something more than the Gregorian plain chant with all these encoded frequencies? And then he thought, what if we just make a circle and enter a state of love? What about if we just hold that intention of love? And the lines just... woo. It was the biggest thing of all. It was not the sound per se. It was the effect on the consciousness that the sound was having. Now, the sound is operational. So this is the thing, right? If we do this little experiment, it expands the lines, but then the lines will dissipate again. The perpetual choirs was a process where that energy continually, that divine word, as John Michelle is talking about, continually pumping out into the world. Which is why for the last 20 years, I've dedicated my life to making music with this Perpetual Choirs Collective, traveling the world, giving talks about it. And I'm very grateful that you've asked the question about it now. The potential healing of the perpetual choirs. It is said that just from Britain, these 3 perpetual choir sites, a vibration of healing was spreading across the whole planet. So you talk about the mycelium and this interconnection of all things, this energy system, this nervous system of the planet, this energy chakra meridian system of the planet, which corresponds to our energy system, our meridians, our chakras. So what we do wherever we are can actually expand around the world. It's just amazing.
Which is part of the reason that Ben and I put together the Ley Love Down project. I asked Ben for a song because I knew that we needed to get out there and do this beautiful frequency and pump the ley lines with it. And he came up with the absolute perfect combination of lyrics and sound. And I asked for 432 hertz and he came up with it and he did a really good job. And it's a
Yeah,
simple song, but the simplicity is what's so important. What a lot of people don't understand is that singing is actually, it soothes the autonomic nervous system. It absolutely, it calms you down, and also it's meditative because you can't think about anything else while you're singing. It's a beautiful focus. I've been singing in a choir since August, and I never thought I'd be doing something like that. I had issues in childhood where I wasn't allowed to speak out, so this was part of my healing process, was actually to learn to sing, to open up the throat, which took quite a process, but it's been absolutely so cathartic and so beautiful. Singing in a choir situation is wonderful. And it's also because you're working in a team, you're working together. The sound that you produce, it's not one person, it's everybody doing it together. And every choir sounds different because everybody's, the combination of people. I absolutely love it. I really thoroughly recommend it to anybody. Singing is healing on so many levels.
it really is. And when you are when you singing anywhere is amazing, but when you're singing on these nodal points, we can only really imagine what it would have been like. I mean, when I did the first Perpetual Choirs album, which was released in 2000, and let me just show you this here.
No, yeah,
It's
wow.
like that's like the map of the Perpetual Choir sites of ancient Britain. There's one in the west, and there's one in the east where I live. And I went to all of the points. I did a concert, all of the points. I got in my van and I drove around, and you can see the video on the YouTube of this journey of me doing it. I don't think anyone's done it before. I don't think anyone's done it. Maybe they've done it before, but no one knows about it. I've never done it since either. It's quite a mission. So I get to Canterbury, which is the seat of the Church of England. It's one of the Perpetual Choir sites. And I get to Canterbury Cathedral and I spoke to Dr. David Flood, who was the head of music at the time. I don't know if he still is the head of music. A great man, a truly great man. And he said to me with a twinkle in his eye, "You can sing in the chapter house. It is where the monks held their meetings." And by that, I knew that's where the perpetual choirs took place. Now, these buildings are designed as acoustic chambers. They are sited on these nodal points of earth energy, what Hamish Miller called these nodes, these crossing points of these energy lines of incredible complexity. And then they build these incredible chambers of acoustics. And this girl came along, from the media department of the cathedral. They'd heard that I was doing this work, and she came along. And I said to her, it's very simple. Intention plus sound brings the healing. I said, let's do it together. And we had the singing bowl. We went, ah, and she went, oh, and the whole building went,
Wow.
whoa. Just two of us, just two people filled this building with this divine sound. And I could feel, whoo, I could feel the activation. Now, the Canterbury Cathedral, they do sing in it, they do evening song, but generally it is a tourist attraction. Stonehenge, all right, people are singing there sometimes, but it's a tourist attraction. All right, there's people singing on Glastonbury Tour, the hippies, God bless them, whacked out hippies there. But the Abbey where the Perpetual Choirs took place, you've got to pay to go in it, and we've got to bring this back. We've got to bring the Perpetual Choirs back, because I'm all for singing. I'm all for singing in choirs. I'm all for sound healing. All these things, bhakti yoga, all these things are wonderful. They're absolutely wonderful. We did an experiment. I'll tell you about this experiment we did, right? So in the UK, we have an event called the Yoga Show. And at the one time, it was like the biggest yoga event in Europe. And I said to them, look, it's a nice event, but let's have a bit of focus to it. So I put my yurt in the middle of the yoga show, and we got people to meditate for world peace, continually meditate for world peace. Okay. And we had a dowser, Sean Kerwin from the British Society of Dowsers, top earth energy dowser, measure the energy field that was created from our meditations and our prayers.
Oh,
And at first he was dowsing and it was just contained within the yurt space. And then it went out and then it went out. At the end of 3 days, the energy field had encompassed the entire building. We were at Olympia in London, which is a huge building. It had encompassed the whole of the building. And he said, it doesn't matter if you're sitting in the yurt or not, you're in the energy field. And this is what was discovered with the work of Fountain International, of Colin Bloy and Hamish Miller and Paul Broadhurst, all of these characters. Because in the late 70s and very early 80s, there was a lot of violence between these groups called the Mods and the Rockers. Some of you might be old enough to remember what I'm talking about. They made a film about it, Quadrophenia. Anyway, they'd smash each other up. And their favourite place to go was Brighton on the south coast of England. So Colin Bloy and a group of healers got together and they said, look, we know that people suffer from dis-ease and can be healed. What about if communities suffer from dis-ease and can be healed? Well, we have our centres, our plexuses, and so do communities. So let us focus on the old Stein, it was where there was a stone circle in Brighton that Queen Victoria's fountain was built on. So they focused their energy there, and local vicar said, if you're going to do this, you want to do it on St. Michael's Day, because the Archangel Michael is this representation of healing on earth. So on the 29th of September, 100 people had this group meditation. 100 again, you see, this number comes up once more.
yeah.
And they meditated and they doused the energy and it amplified 1,000 times. The line amplified 1,000 times. And their intention was, may healing flow for the greatest good of all. They weren't directing where the healing was going. That was their thing. May light and love and may healing flow for the greatest good of all in accordance with divine will. What happened was the energy went up the motorway and the energy went up the railway, right? So they didn't make it do that. It just did it. It's intelligent. When the Mods and Rockers were coming down to smash each other up, they were coming down the motorway and feeling the energy, right? They were coming down the railway and they were feeling the energy. By the time they got to Brighton, the energy had lifted up from that root chakra, adrenaline, they're going to smash each other up vibe, lifted them out of that consciousness. And the newspaper reported, bikers go home, Brighton too boring. The bikers couldn't get their fix in Brighton. What did they do? They went to nearby Hastings and Seaford. They started smashing that up instead. So the people in Brighton said, look, this is what we've done. This is what we've done. You know, get a focal point. It might be a church spire or a fountain or a crossroads or a town hall or a tree or whatever, a stone. Get a focal point, and every day, like you Ley Love Down guys are doing, every day send just a few moments, send the love and visualize it radiating out, bringing peace and healing and abundance and well-being and harmony. And it's spread around the world. It's spread around the world. And in a sense, that's what World Healing Project's continuing. In a sense, that's what Ley Love Down's continuing. In a sense, that's what there's thousands and thousands of organizations, of groups, millions of people now. The millions of people doing this work. It's so exciting.
Oh, it is.
Really is.
Yeah.
But the perpetual choirs, there's something in it, because if you keep it going, then that vibration, that energy, it just keeps pumping out. What a world we could have.
Oh,
What
exactly.
a world we could have.
All we need is the collective consciousness to be going in the right direction. I talk a lot about this, you know, and we have Hollywood to try and steer the collective consciousness in the worst directions. You know, they try and, you know, convince us we're going to have cataclysms, we're going to have, you know, pestilence and, all the worst possible things that you can imagine. When in actual fact, if we just focused our energy, like you're just saying, in the right direction for the right reasons and for the best outcome for everybody, highest good of all, that's the sort of world we're creating. I have a lot of
It
hope.
really is.
A lot of the children being born now are very, very high frequency. I don't know if you're aware of that, but it's just, it heartens me because I know we're in good hands, but we don't want to hand over a mess.
My so I've been banging on about the perpetual choirs for over 20 years, and I really thought it would have come back in Britain by now. And the place I thought it was going to return was Glastonbury, because there's a lot of people who spiritually focused there. But I thought, gosh, surely, people know about it. It's not just me that knows about it. People have read John Michel's books and um, other other books on it as well. Let's just hold this one up. This is John Gibson 40, who spent 4 years dowsing the energy pattern um, of the Western Circle of the Perpetual Choirs.
Wow.
So the cat's out the bag, right? People know about it. But why aren't people doing it? Because to sing at 3 o'clock in the morning, at 5 o'clock in the morning on a rainy day in Somerset in England is, you've got to have some discipline. You've got to really want to do it. And when people said that Stonehenge was a temple of the perpetual choirs, people said, oh no, it couldn't have been. Because how could people have been on Salisbury Plain, when it was wet, and they wouldn't have done that and all that. And a friend of mine said, he said, do you know what, Giles? He said, maybe those druids were just tougher than people today. Or maybe they knew how important it was.
Yes.
Maybe they actually knew how important it was. So a friend of mine, he interviewed me recently, and he said, Giles, why are you so passionate? Why are you so dedicated about the perpetual choirs? Why is it that you'll sing for 12 hours straight? Or when we launched the Unity album. This is the last album that I made with the perpetual choirs. You just see it there. And if you go to my website, worldhealingproject.com, you see some of the people that were part of it. Hundreds of people. You can download it for free. You can follow the link and download the album for free. It took me 2 years to make and a lot of money, but you can get it for free. Why is it free? Because so people can hear it, right? We don't want any restrictions to people being able to enjoy this stuff. And he said, why are you so dedicated? Why are you so dedicated? And I said, because I understand how important it is.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so dedicated to this. I got into this, I've really explored this, and that's why I love the work you guys are doing, this Ley Love Down, because you're using the song, you're using the 432 hertz. This whole album is 432 hertz.
Beautiful. Okay. Wow. So
And,
that's
the sound frequency.
be playing that in the ley lines. They could be taking your song and actually playing it in the ley lines, which, some
A
people
friend of mine is,
singing.
in Glastonbury. She lives very close to the St Michael alignment, and she just plays the CD on repeat play. She says, I just putting it into the grid. But it's different if a human's singing than if the machine's playing
Yeah.
it,
Yeah. Because of the
right?
intent
But it's still
behind it.
good. It's
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
good.
Oh, for sure. One thing I think one of the problems that we have with people is number one, we're so busy. The slave system keeps people perpetually busy. Obviously, you're living your best life, which is just wonderful to see. I think also the culture of materialism, this whole science around materialism, and that everything has to be touchable. And if you can't see the result, well, it doesn't exist. I think that's a problem that we have as well. We've got a lot of, occult understandings and beliefs in governments that they keep very, very hidden, and they don't want us to know about it because then we're empowered. Then we can heal the world, literally. So we're up
Yeah.
against it. I heard that apparently a lot of the church bells that used to ring out to 432 hertz were removed from the churches in I think it was the Second World War, and melted down for ammunition. I can't remember if it was the First or Second World War. And when I heard that, it was just like, oh my God, could they have done it? Could they have inverted it even more horrifically than that? That's probably the worst thing I'd ever heard that they'd done with the church.
Yeah, I think some of these things it would have happened, but certainly not everywhere. I mean, I was listening to my church bells last night. They didn't take those down. It would have been a real effort. I mean, in Avebury, which is the greatest stone circle in the world, they started to smash it up because the Christians, the Puritans at the time, they were like, oh, this is Jesus Christ is the only savior, and
Wow.
these heathens, we're going to smash their temple up. So they started to smash it up, and then they just stopped. because it was just too big. It was
It's
just beyond
morbid.
them. It's like the Great Pyramid, you know, they did strip the limestone off it and probably the golden cap off the top, but they
Yeah.
just couldn't do it more. It was just too big. And by the way, the Great Pyramid, if you times it by 43,200, it is the size of the world. I mean, it's encoding 432
Wow.
hertz.
Wow.
You know, the square root of the speed of light is 432. The distance, the diameter, the radius of the sun is 43,200 miles. There are
Wow.
43,200 seconds in a 12-hour day and in a 12-hour night. It's like, come on, people. You know,
Yeah.
which is why for our music, we're always playing live in 432. But, you know, recording a whole album in 432 with loads of instruments and musicians from around the world, that was a job. My good friend Craig Press, he's a music producer, the greatest spiritual music producer in the world. He did the sacred chants of Buddha, sacred chants of Shiva, sacred chants of Divine Mother. And he'll record in 432 hertz. He says because it is a ratio of the sound of the universe, which is like B flat, but the relative note of the A is 432. But when he does his film work and TV work, he has to go back into his, what they call standard pitch, standard tuning, which is 440 hertz. A is 440, and he says, "Man," he goes, "it grates me when I have to go record at 440, but you can only push so far. You see,
Yeah.
you can only push so far because some people, when you say 432 hertz, they're like, what? What are you talking about? You know."
Yeah.
They're just it's difficult, and some instruments have a fixed pitch. Your beautiful harp there, Rebecca, you can tune it, delightful. But some instruments are fixed, you know, like a harmonica, for example. Though I did know a harmonica player who took his harmonica apart and he got a little file and he filed the reed so it was 432. Now that is
Oh,
dedication.
brilliant. That is so cool.
Oh, well done. It's already in 432, your harp. There you go. I mean, the thing is, what I'd say as well, right, is whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. It's the intention is the overriding factor. So if you have a piano or whatever, you just your voice. Don't get too caught up on, you know, the minutiae of these things. It is good if you can to tune to 432, but the more important thing is just to sing, is just to sing with your heart and your soul and to send that love and healing to all the beings in all the worlds, right? And the more of us that do that, and it is happening. Oh, yes, it is happening. I tell you what, I also love as well. I love the equinoxes and the solstices and the cross quarter days because what happens is, say, summer solstice, it doesn't matter if you're like a Christian or Buddhist or whatever, right? It's the longest day. Summer solstice is the longest day. It affects everyone.
Yep.
And there's millions and millions of people vibing on these days.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You know, we all live on the same planet. So we're all affected by her and what's happening here at the same time.
Yeah, that's what Fountain showed. You know, we're like fish within a pool, within a pool of water, a body of water. You change the body of water, it affects the fish. We're all living within this energy field. So when we can uplift that energy field, that's uplifting everyone, you know? That's just an absolutely a beautiful idea, which is why there's this such, you know, conflicts in the world. I always thought about Iraq, you know, I thought, why are they doing it? You know, is it about oil? Is it about control? And one of the reasons they bombed Iraq was because it's a major plexus of consciousness, of Earth consciousness. You know, the cradle of civilization and all this, and Sumer and Babylon and all these, right, ancient. So if you bomb that place, you could be a yogi in a cave and you'd have felt that.
Mm. Wow.
So, you know, we want peace in the world. We want healing in the world. And will we get world peace? I don't know, but we'll have a go, right?
Absolutely. You know, it's interesting. I was talking to someone yesterday about, you know, where they bomb certain locations, and I really do think that they choose to bomb in certain areas to affect the tectonic plates as well. They're not just trying to hurt people; they're trying to hurt the
No,
earth.
the good thing is that the light you know, the Upanishads say if a room has been dark for 1,000 years, you just open the doors and the light comes in, right? And the darkness is dispelled. So that's the thing with it. There are these, you know, mischief makers. I'll give you a great example of this, right? Of the power of the light. In the Second World War, there was a mystic called Wesley Tudor Pole, and he got the ear of Churchill, and he said, you've got to get everyone just to have a minute for peace. Think about peace for a minute. Okay. So at 9 o'clock, Big Ben would dong, and then everyone would just go, right, just think about peace for 1 minute, right? It's like global meditation in effect. Now, when the Official Secrets Act, they have like 50 years, certain things. After 50 years, things become public knowledge, right? So the Nazis weren't just good at, you know, making bombs and fighting. They were also very adept at psychic warfare.
Oh, yeah.
And they had a Grail castle where they would sit and do their black magic. And what came out of the Official Secrets Act is they said we could not penetrate the light created by the one silent minute, right?
Wow.
So just people for 1 minute thinking about peace
Yeah.
was more powerful than their dark magic. So I think we need to, you know, we got the love.
Oh, we have. Oh, we
right?
have.
We got the love, you know, we got the joy. I love one of the things David Icke says. He says we need to do the non-comply dance. Just dance. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
Just dance, you know. When they locked us up in the COVID nut job and they said you can't gather. Well, I went with 1 million people to London and we sang. And this is another thing for this wisdom transmission. Put your affirmations in a positive sense.
Yeah.
So when people tried to stop the Iraq war, they were all chanting, stop the war, stop the war. It didn't work. Just got more war. But when we gathered in London, we were singing freedom. We were singing freedom.
Yeah.
And that vibration resonated. Another little book for you here. If you never get hold of this, by my old friend Chris Street, all about the sacred sites of London, which I have quite a knowledge of. When we were singing, I knew where the lines were, and we were singing that into the earth grid, singing into the song lines. Freedom, freedom. And it just awoke it. And we went to number 10 Downing Street. Well, we got as close as we could with the band. You can see the video. It's on the website, Freedom, by the Perpetual Choirs. And we're dancing. Because I just thought, you know what? You might have a big truncheon, but I've got the funk. I've got the moves. And you'll see on the video us just like funking out those coppers. Oh, good times, everyone.
I love it. I love it. Well, on that note, it's probably a good time to ask if anybody's got any questions. Anybody want to put their hand up? If you look in the reactions bar, guys, you'll see down the bottom there's a bar that you can press for if you want to put your hand up to ask a question, or you could do it the old-fashioned way and just stick your hand up. Excellent, Rebecca. Go for it, darling. Can you unmute yourself? Fabulous.
Hi, Giles. I just was wondering, so I live in the UK, and I'm just wondering whereabouts are you based in the UK? I'm in Yorkshire, where you said you did that accent. I'm not from Yorkshire. You can probably tell from my accent.
Yeah, I'm in sunny Suffolk, but we do get up to Yorkshire quite a bit at the Soul Wellness Hub, which is in Sowerby Bridge.
That's
so we've been
near
doing
me
it.
because I live in Halifax.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I know
okay.
that.
So they've got a great event coming up. I'm not going to be at the next one on the 26th of April, but I used to do a lot of global work, but I'm a bit more confined to Great Britain now, just because there's so much to discover. And my passport lapsed in COVID, and I thought maybe I'll never renew it. I don't know, but yeah, you're very welcome to come and see us in sunny Suffolk, and hopefully meet up on my website. There's you click a little thing there to sign up to my mailing list. That is the best way to keep hold of me, and to find out what I'm doing. Worldhealingproject.com. There you go. Look, there we go. Thank you.
Guys, so
Worldhealingproject.com.
No, we've got the
It's at the top. I think it's at the top.
beautiful.
Maybe. Yeah, to sign up to our newsletter. There you go.
Fabulous.
contact
There you
Ley.
go.
You just send us a message. Oh, look, now that's a nice picture.
That
That
is
is a picture of the Fountain International Conference, right? And where that contact us thing is, it's just on top of his head. But that's Hamish Miller there. And that was the last talk, the last public talk that great Hamish Miller did
oh, wow.
in his life was at the Fountain International Conference in Castle Hedingham. That was a photo taken by the castle. And if you do want to know a bit more about Earth energies, guys, I can't recommend enough. You get a copy of The Sun and the Serpent. Can I just hold this up here? People can.
Go for it. I'll stop sharing so they can see more of you.
Bless you. Yeah, thank you. You see this here?
Yeah.
Paul Broadhurst and Hamish Miller, their journey along the St Michael line. And I'm just a few hundred yards from the St Michael line here in Stradishall, near Bury St Edmunds. And this book is brilliant. I think it was published in 80, was it 88, 89? And I very fortunate because I've actually got one of the limited edition copies, and it was in 89. Look at that hardback. They printed 888 of these,
Oh, fabulous.
the limited edition copies, because that's the gematria of the Earth Spirit. And I always would joke that if I ever got short of money, I could sell this to my friend Hugh Newman, who is runs the Megalithomania, the global sacred sites, and doing amazing work. Hugh Newman is. I always joke that if I got short of money, I could sell it to Hugh Newman for £1,000. And then it was just a little joke. And then I went on eBay. And this is actually worth £1,000 now. And that knowledge can be valued so well. Of course, you got to get a signature from Hamish Miller now, because he's long gone. God bless him, or John Michelle. But you can get the paperback still, so that's a good one for you. Okay, if you want to know about these earth lines and these ley lines. And another great book that's UK based is The Spine of Albion. Just want to give a shout out to my friend Matthew Liam Gardner. The Spine of Albion runs from the south coast, from the Isle of Wight, and it goes all the way up through to Scotland. It goes through some very important places. Winchester, which was the ancient capital of England. Dunfermline, which was the ancient capital of Scotland, goes to Birmingham, Manchester. Stratford upon Avon, the birthplace of Shakespeare. And anyway, this dude is walking, he's Australian, he's walking the spine of Albion. So let's just give a shout out to Matthew right now, Matthew Liam Gardner, to enchant the land and to bring about a cultural renaissance of people doing the work, getting out on the work, singing and dancing, and being with the earth. So, but wherever you are, that's another thing that came through Stephen Ash recently. He said, don't be over concerned with you've got to be on the ley line. He said, just get out, because everything's connected, as we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Everything's connected. Just get out and just wherever you are, right? You don't need to live you don't need to live near Uluru or whatever. Just be a back garden's all right.
Yeah.
Or your park.
Go to a river, go to a creek, go to a lake, go to the ocean, because the water connects all the ley lines together as well. It's another great way to do it. You don't necessarily have to find where a ley line is, but anybody who wants to find a ley line in an urban area, just go to a church, because they're all sited on ley lines by a Freemason with a sighting rod, when they're erected, so that they face into a ley line each time.
Yeah, that's right. Colin Bloy said, if you want to find the places of power in England, he said, go where the Templars were, go where the Cistercians were, go where the Benedictines were, because these people had this ancient knowledge of these energy sites. And because many of these sites are now ruined in England, Henry VIII smashed apart the abbeys and the priories. I mean, we had 450 chantry chapels. They were singing just the chantry chapels alone. They were singing 24/7, right?
Yeah.
And then after Henry VIII and Edward VI, there was like 4 left in a few years. Imagine the impact that would have. We had people singing, like the monks were paid. That was their job, right? They were just singers. Wow. Rebecca, I can see your hand up.
Yeah. Oh, you're still muted, darling.
Sorry, I was going to ask about the churches being on ley lines. So Does that still apply for quite modern churches? I mean, so there's a church near me that was built, say, 1899. Would it apply for that? And then obviously, like I teach yoga in a church, but that was built like 1960. Does it still apply?
So when Hamish and Paul, can you see that? I don't know if you can see that. These are the maps, right? And this is one of my most treasured possessions, because this is the dowsable maps of the ley lines
Fantastic.
from Hamish Miller's pen. He marked these out of the Michael Mary lines and where they move. This is Avebury. Look what it does in Avebury.
Oh, wow.
So you get the straight alignment, and then these dragon energies are serpenteering all around. So the idea when they started dowsing, because they knew this St. Michael axis, it's this straight line, right, which runs from Cornwall up to the coast, the Norfolk-Suffolk border. And they thought that a ley line had a dowsable energy that was straight, and some do. But when they started dowsing, it's fascinating. They're in Cornwall, and they're dowsing, and then at the end of the day, they plotted the map, and it wasn't straight. It was like a serpent. And Paul had an argument. And this was like, I don't know, it's like 86 or something. And Paul Broadhurst goes, "You're a lazy douse. You're a lousy dowser." And Hamish Miller goes, "You're a lousy navigator," you know. But what they found was that the line wasn't straight, that it was serpenteering. And then when they got to Avebury, they found the yin energy, what they called the Mary line, these yin yang energy lines. But when they're in Cornwall, to answer your question, they're in Cornwall, and there was a Victorian church precisely located on the flow of the line. It was a modern church. It wasn't ancient. It didn't have this ancient knowledge. It was a modern building. So some are. The other thing as well is that we've got to remember that these energy lines are interactive. They're dynamic. It's not a static system. You know, as Rory Duff has shown, you know, we've had these great dragon lines enter the planet in recent decades.
Yeah.
He says the most powerful ones. So it's a static system. So what you do in your yoga is you're activating and you're interconnecting. And we found this with our work when we've built stone circles, when we've built sacred sites. It's a dynamic system. The church, our friends run the Soul Wellness Hub in Sowerby Bridge, right? So that's an old Methodist chapel, huge, right? Absolutely huge. You got to remember, before there was Netflix and interesting Zoom calls like this, I mean, what were people doing, right? I mean, life was boring. You went to church. I mean, you got to meet people, whatever. And then when people had enough of the Church of England, they thought, yeah. So there was all this, what they call the non-conformist movement, the Baptists, the Unitarians, the Quakers, etc. So they built these buildings, and some of them are built on these energy points, and some of them are just built where it was convenient or where it was possible. And the one at the Soul Wellness Hub certainly is built on this on an alignment, and all of the work that these guys are doing is really activating it and helping it to grow and helping it to flourish. The story goes that when Colin Bloy was dowsing this, I told you this story, Rachel, it's a funny one. Colin Bloy's dowsing this ley line. So he's in Sussex, and he's like, you can douse for oil, you can douse for water. Why can't we douse a ley line? So there's a stone circle, and then it goes into this standing stone, and then he's dowsing it. He's dowsing this ley line, and it ended up either going to Brighton, and it ends up at the Conservative Party headquarters of Brighton.
Yeah.
And he's thinking, what? I thought the ley lines were on ancient sites. But no, they're focal points of consciousness.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Washington, D.C. I don't know if anyone's been to Washington, D.C. You want to see some geomancy. Oof. That big pillar. Yeah. You know, they have the obelisks.
Yeah.
Right? And they were ancient, like in London, we have Cleopatra's Needle, they call it. But they still have and they carved out a single points of granite. The memorial in Washington is 555 feet high. You know, in Egypt, when the sun strikes them, they emit sound. the property of quartz has this acoustoluminescence, you know, the sound and light frequencies. It's amazing. So what I'd say about those churches is some of them are on very potent energy sites, and some of them have just been built wherever they've been built, you know, for practical purposes. But it's what we can do. There was a project called Tongo, and they said, we're going to pick a random place and see what we can do. And this random place, it was just a field in the Bristol Channel. And they said, right, every day, send love to it, right? And it developed this incredible power and this complexity of these energetic patterns. It wasn't Canterbury Cathedral. It wasn't Uluru. It wasn't Machu Picchu. It was just a place in the middle of a field where several gather in my name. There am I. I think that's a good thing to remember.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful note to end on, actually. Giles, thank you so much for coming on today. Apart from your website, contacting you through there or finding you on YouTube, where else are you?
Well, I tell you what, I've started an Instagram channel. I don't really like Meta. Meta could do one as far as I'm concerned because of their censorship. But Zuck goes on Joe Rogan and says he's gone for freedom. So here we go. This is my new book. It's called The Mechanics of Manifestation. I started writing it on the 1st of January. And 60 days later, I had the published book in my hand. I manifested it. So I'm on Instagram at Mechanics of Manifestation. I'm on X at Giles Bryant. But yeah, just sign up for my newsletter, guys. That's the best way you can keep connected to me. And yeah, if you wanna do something positive, go to my website, download for free my Unity album, and put on the 108 ohms, which is 108 people singing the 108 ohms from all around the world for world peace, and put that on or 432 hertz, of course. Oh.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I thoroughly recommend people, if they don't feel like singing, if they don't have an instrument, if they don't have a tuning fork, they can take your music out on, you know, play it on the phone or something, get a download, play it out there in the ley lines, play it near the water, with the intent of bringing that beautiful higher frequency to lift the earth and to lift us all up out of this mire that they've constructed for us. Well, thank you again, Giles. Very much appreciated. Thank you, Billy.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day. God bless to you all.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.